Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ryan Jackson from Ryan Jackson LLC. Hope y'all are doing good. Hope you're having a good day or had a good day, wherever you're tuning in from. I'm gonna get into the topic for this video, and it's about Dr. King. His birthday is coming up on Saturday, his 93rd birthday, January 15th, 1929. He would have been 93 years young this year had he had lived. And something that's been bothering me for a few years when every time every year at this time, they have parades and memorials and dinners, and they honor him, and rightfully so, because he's deserving of that. He was a great man. And every year around this time they do that, but they always concentrate on one speech and one speech only. And that's the I Have a Dream speech. I'm so sick of that speech. No disrespect to Dr. King, no disrespect, to his children, to his dearly departed wife, Mrs. Coretta Scott King. But Dr. King was more than that speech. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to paint Dr. King as some peace-loving Southern Baptist Negro preacher that had a dream of little black girls and little black boys holding hands with little white girls and little white boys and singing "We Shall Overcome." Well, Martin. I mean, okay, yeah, okay, that's good and all, but no, that's not all we should know Dr. King for, especially black people. White people, if you want to know, if you want to, remember Dr. King as being some peaceful Southern Baptist Negro preacher, then by all means, that whatever. But for black folks, no. He was more than that for us. At least to me, he was. Well, for many black folks, he was. Because, from 1955 to 1963, he was no threat to white supremacy. He wasn't a threat. I'm gonna say from 1955 to about 1965. To about 1965, he wasn't a threat to white supremacy because he wanted us to integrate with white people, you know, uh, integrate restaurants, down south, while young black kids are getting coffee poured on them, cake smeared in their face, and beat upside their head. How's that progress? Because I get to sit in a white man's restaurant. It took me a long time to realize this, but I just been like, how is this progress? Why would I want to sit in your restaurant? You don't even want me here. Why would I want to even want to eat the food in your restaurant when you already hate me? You may poison my food. I don't want to deal with that. When I could go to my own restaurant. Black people, we had our own restaurants, nice restaurants. Um, all kind of restaurants we had, hotels. Why would I want to go in your establishment when I have my own? I want to support my own. I want my own to have, my money. Not y'all. Not some dumb redneck in Alabama, some toothless, illiterate redneck. Why don't I want his go to his establishment? Why? When I could go to one, in Atlanta, in a, that's black owned in a black neighborhood. Okay, it may not be glitzy and glamorous, but it's still our own. It's by our people. But we were so hell bent on jumping on board with integration, with social integration, and it did us a great disservice. Social integration has not gotten black people nowhere. It has not moved the needle one iota. Prove me wrong. Okay, yeah, voting rights. I know that's the big topic now. Voting rights, voting rights, voting rights. Okay. So what? You have to show your ID to vote. You show your ID to do anything else. And what makes it funny to me is that the people screaming about, showing your ID to vote is racism, is racist, and is wrong, are the same people who think that it's okay for you to show a jab card just to go into a restaurant or go into a movie theater or to a sporting event. How is one okay but one isn't? Make it make sense. It makes absolutely no damn sense. No damn sense whatsoever. But you know what? That's neither here or there because, like I said, social integration was a did a big disservice to the black community. I'm going to say social integration was worse than racism, was worse than Jim Crow because we abandoned our own. A lot of black businesses closed because of social integration. They did. Our communities went down because now we think the white man's ice is colder, his neighborhoods are nicer, his restaurants are nicer, the butter on his popcorn is better than the butter on our pop. Whatever. His sports league is better. And so we abandoned our communities to move out to the suburbs to be close to white people. But white people didn't want us out there because guess what they did? They moved further out. And then we moved further out. And then they said, you know what? We're gonna go back to the inner city. We're gonna gentrify the inner city and make it into what we wanted to make it into. We're gonna jack the prices up. We're gonna close your businesses. You can't come back to you sold Big Mama's house. Now we're gonna refurbish Big Mama's house, make it into a jewel that you abandoned, and we're gonna jack the prices up in your own neighborhood where you can't even afford to come back there. And if you do come back there and you walk around in our area and we don't know who you are, we're gonna call the cops. So now they've turned the inner city hood into urban suburban area, if you will. Think about that. Now the hood is the urban suburban areas. It's funny how that happens, right? But we were so quick to move out to the burbs. And I get it, crime, schools, but crime is everywhere. Look what happened in Oxford, Michigan, just what, a month and a half ago. Columbine. All these school shootings are happening in suburban areas, not urban areas. No, there's drugs in the suburbs too. The opioid crisis. Don't be fooled. Don't let the media fool y'all. Y'all fall for the banana in the tailpipe trick, but y'all cannot be fooled. But we were so quick to jump, to be close to white people, to go to their establishments. I have so much respect for the Asian community with how they do things because they spend money with their people first. Their dollar goes around their community. What I think a matter of a day or two. I think it circulates, and the black community it's like circulates maybe 20 some minutes. I think I read this. Yeah, I read that somewhere. Yeah, Asian people still, they still assimilate with, they still live, deal with, white people and black people, but you're spending money in their community. They're not coming to your communities spending money. You're going to their community spending money. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to that. And social integration hurt us. It did. I don't care. I will die on that hill. I will argue tooth and nail with people who feel otherwise. That's your right. That's your prerogative. But I'm entitled, to the way I feel in my opinion on this. Social integration hurt the black community. It did us a disservice because when we thought it was going to help us, they used it for everyone else. They used social integration for white women. They used it for the handicapped. They used it for Native Americans. They used it for Hispanic Americans, Hispanic, Americans, what so have you. It was for everybody else except black people. But we opened Pandora's box, and we didn't. We couldn't even get in it. Everybody else did, and we got stuck looking stupid. So Yeah, of course. The government, they was happy to, okay, to go down south and tell, George Wallace and Ross Barnett, hey, you know what? Integrate the University of Alabama, integrate the University of Mississippi. Let these Negroes in. They have their own schools. They have HBCUs. If they want to be hell bent on going to your institutions, let them. They don't even know what they have. They don't even know what they have. They're too silly to realize what they have. So let them. And it was pushed back from Wallace and Barnett, but the Kennedy administration um, they end up winning and you know allowing James Meredith and at University of Mississippi, forgot who University of Alabama, but the young people at the Little Rock Five down at the Central High School in Little Rock in 1957, great, great. Where Dr. King was impactful was the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott when they, for a year and a half, it was over a year, they damn near bankrupt the Montgomery bus system, the bus company, because they said we will not ride your buses. We would rather walk than ride your buses. When they told Rosa Parks to get to the back of the bus, and when and she was in the front, and they told her to get to the back, and she said no. She refused to go to the back. That was impactful, but we still went back to the white bus company. We still went back when they relented. We still went back and rode with them. Still gave them our money. There were other bus companies down south. Black people could have started their own bus company. How about that? Start your own damn bus company. Forget them. Start our own. So, like I said, from 1955 to 1965, yeah, you had the Montgomery, the Baptist church, the 16th Street Baptist Church in Montgomery was bombed. We had that. You had that happen. You had the Freedom Riders. They were getting beat up um, by the Klan. Yes, and then you had the three civil rights workers in Neshoba County, Mississippi, that end up being murdered, and then their bodies end up being were missing, but they end up being found out they were murdered down in Neshoba County, Mississippi. We had those incidents, yes, but for the most part, Dr. King was not a threat to. Let me rephrase that. He was a threat to the Southerners, but he wasn't a threat to the white Democrats, to the white liberals until 1960. I'm gonna say 1966. I'm gonna say 1966 when he went to Chicago and moved into the worst housing project. I believe it was on the south side of Chicago to fight housing discrimination. And those white folks in Chicago, Cicero, which is right outside Chicago, those white folks gave him hell. Dr. King said Chicago was worse than any city or town in the South. He said Chicago. He got hit upside the head with a brick. Yes, he did. Look it up. He was marching in Cicero, just right outside Chicago, for against housing discrimination. And those white folks in liberal Chicago, the big city, Chicago was the second largest city in 1966. Big city, big liberal Chicago. Richard Daley Sr. was mayor. Got hit upside the head with a brick for boycotting housing discrimination laws in the city of Chicago. He moved into the worst housing project in Chicago. And around this time, he met with a great man who I have much love and admiration for, the great Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He did. There's pictures of it. The Nation of Islam headquarters are in Chicago. Dr. King was living in Chicago. He met in 1966, I believe it was February 1966. He had a meeting with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't know what they discussed, but I believe that Elijah Muhammad told Dr. King, brother, change your approach. Change your approach. You're a great young man. I admire what you're doing. But if you really, really, really want to get to the truth, to see who's behind you, talk about the economic disparity in the Black community. Talk about this war in Vietnam, how they're sending young Black men over to a war where we have a place where we have no business being murdered, while we don't even have freedom here in the United States. Our cities are slums. Black people are suffering. There's economic disparity. Talk about the money. Talk about redistributing the pain. Economic boycott. Brother, talk about the problem of the Black man and woman here in America more than talking about integration. And this is what I believe. I don't know. I could be wrong, but this is what I believe in my hardest of hearts, that this is what they discussed. And Dr. King changed, particularly in 1967, a year later. He spoke out against the war in Vietnam at a church in New York City. I think it was Riverdale Baptist Church, if I'm not mistaken. He spoke out against the war in Vietnam, spoke out against it. He condemned America's involvement and the Johnson administration's involvement in the war. And right after that speech, those who were with him from 1955 to 19 maybe 66, they turned their back on him. Roy Wilkins, this Sambo, Roy Wilkins, who was the director of the NAACP at the time, condemned Dr. King and turned his back on him. Jackie Robinson, another Sambo, turned his back on Dr. King, distanced himself from him. The NAACP, Black preachers rescinded their invitation to have him speak at their churches. Look this up, look it up, look it up. As a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, the Nation of Islam's newspaper, The Final Call, for those of you who may not know about, the Nation of Islam has their own newspaper. They've had it since the early 60s. It used to be called Muhammad Speaks, but it's called The Final Call. They did a great article in their paper on how people distanced themselves from Dr. King, how he grew as a leader the last year of his life. Great article. I read it a couple of days ago. Great article, great read. I recommend you reading it. It's in this week's The Final Call. But yeah, they distanced themselves from Dr. King, distanced themselves from him. NAACP. The head of the National Urban League, I can't think of his name right now. It's not important. He distanced himself from Dr. King. Like I said, churches, black pastors, Black preachers who marched with him in 55, all throughout the 50s, into the early 60s, who was with him when he was talking about integrating into white establishments. He was their brother then. But when he spoke out against the unjust war in Vietnam, he was public enemy number one. Oh, brother, you can't speak at our church. No, you're a bad influence on young people. No, we don't want to hear that. Dr. King became more militant. He became more militant. And I think it was from that meeting that he had with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's where his militancy and him becoming a revolutionary progressed. He regressed from being a dreamer, where little black kids held hands with little white kids and they all sung the Negro spiritual, We Shall Overcome. He progressed from that. That was done. He even said, I fear that I have integrated my people into a burning house. He said that. Look it up. Look it up. He realized that integration, he regretted integration. And he even said and even thought that black people needed a temporary separation from white people. Yes, he did. Look it up. He started taking on the ideas and ideologies of Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. Particularly, not just Malcolm X, but particularly the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and the Nation. He did. He started taking on their ideology because he saw it. I feared I've integrated my people into a burning house. Every major city in America from 1964 to 1968 had a riot. You cannot name me not one major city in America in that 5-year period where there wasn't a race riot. Detroit, Newark, New Jersey, Chicago, Philadelphia, LA, Atlanta, DC, Miami, Houston. All these cities, every major city in America, Harlem, every major city in America, there was a race riot from 1964 to 1968. And around this time, 1966, is when another black militant group was born. And that was the Black Panther Party out here in Oakland by Bobby Seale and Dr. Huey Newton. And Dr. King, while he didn't believe in arming himself, he started taking on a little bit of their ideology too. He started supporting them. He may not have agreed with them like Stokely Carmichael, who started out in SNCC, Student Nonviolence, SNCC, what is Student Nonviolent Committee? I can't remember the whole acronym. But they had some disagreements, but for the most part, Dr. King stood behind them. He stood behind them. Not the NAACP, not the black pastors, many of whom turned their back on Dr. King because they said he was a bad influence. Every major newspaper, I think in the final call, they said it was 168 newspapers painted Dr. King as a demagogue. He was the most hated black man in America, the most hated man in America from 1967 up until the time he was assassinated. That whole year, he was the most hated man in America because he spoke out against the Vietnam War. And those people who were his so-called friends turned their backs on him. But when he died, and they had his service in Atlanta, then now it's easy to say that well, we love Dr. King. That was our brother. Like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, y'all are damn liars. If you loved him, you would have loved him when he spoke out against the Johnson administration's involvement in Vietnam. You were stuck by him. It's easy to say you love him now that the man is gone. He's been gone almost 54 years. It's easy to say it now, but where were you in 1967? That whole last year of his life, when the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Chicago Tribune, the LA Times, the Detroit News, the Detroit Free Press, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. All these major newspapers were painting Dr. King as Satan himself for speaking out against an unjust war, for speaking out against economic disparity between blacks and whites, telling black people to redistribute the pain. What were y'all in? Like I said, Dr. King transgressed. Excuse me, he progressed from a dreamer to a powerful revolutionary that was this country's worst nightmare. Why don't they tell that? Why don't they tell that side of Dr. King? Instead of this, we shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Pow, they pow, they pow. No, man, stop it. Stop it. Talk about the Dr. King that was a revolutionary. Talk about that speech he gave at the Riverdale Baptist Church in New York in 1967 when he spoke out against Vietnam. Talk about him speaking to the students out here at the University of California, Berkeley in May of 67. Talk about that. Talk about how he stood behind Muhammad Ali when he decided that he wasn't going to get drafted into the army to fight in Vietnam. Talk about that. Talk about how Roy Wilkins, Jackie Robinson, all these black preachers and white liberals turned their back on him. Talk about that, Dr. King, the revolutionary. Don't talk about the dreamer marching, trying to wanting black people to integrate into white establishments when we had our own. Don't talk about that, Dr. King. The reason why y'all do talk about that, Dr. King, because it fits y'all narrative that black people need white people in order to be successful. It fits the narrative. It never fails. But the Dr. King that's revolutionary, that's who today's young people identify with most, especially young people who are tired of the status quo in these urban cities in Detroit, Chicago, Philly, New York, Atlanta, LA, Oakland. They're tired of it. They're tired of it. That's who they don't want young people to identify with that Dr. King. No, no, that's a problem. He's too militant, he's too black. And Dr. King even said it. I'm gonna change the language tonight. I'm gonna change the language tonight. Black is beautiful. He said it. Yes, he did. Look it up. I'm gonna change the language tonight. Black is beautiful. They don't want them to learn about that Dr. King, the one that, was praying, holding hands with white people and gave the I Have a Dream speech for the March on Equality and Jobs. That Dr. King is fine. The peaceful Southern Baptist Negro preacher, he's fine. The militant that he became, the powerful black man that he was, that was a threat to the US government, which ultimately cost him his life. They don't want to talk about that Dr. King. They want to sit up there and tell that lie to our young people that Dr. King died because he had a dream. That's a damn lie. He died because he woke up. That's why he died. He died because he woke the hell up. He was woke before being woke was cool. That's the Dr. King that they don't want to tell you about. Nope. Like I said, it's easy to tell you about the Dr. King that was. Oh, we shall pow, overcome, come, pow. Getting hot coffee poured over their hand. That Dr. King, yes, that's this is who you should be. Peaceful, loving in the face of terror, in the face of adversity and terror, of you getting slapped upside your head, getting hot coffee poured on you. Be peaceful. White people not even peaceful. When had they been peaceful? America wasn't even established on peace. America was established on war. Look it up. The American Revolution. Were the patriots peaceful people? Were they marching and saying, we shall lo, and that while the British was shooting them, hell no, they were shooting them back. As a matter of fact, they were in trees and in the trenches where the British couldn't see them, gunning them down. But they want to tell you to be peaceful. When has the white man been peaceful? Like I said, it fits their narrative, and it sticks in my craw. It bugs the hell out of me that they preach this Dr. King to our young people. They don't tell you about the Dr. King that met with Elijah Muhammad. Why? Why would they? I don't expect white people to. I expect black people to. That's what sticks in my craw. Our own people don't tell our young people about the Dr. King that went away from a dreamer to being a powerful black revolutionary. He spoke out against injustice in this country. He spoke out against economic disparity. He was going to do a tent city on a national mall. He had planned on doing a tent city to address the disparity and the issues of poverty here in America. He had planned on doing a tent city to address the issues of poverty, how poverty stricken, you know, many of our cities have become, and how it was affecting America. But he was assassinated. His life was taken from him before he could even do this. 39 years old, such a young man. He did so much in the short time that he had. So much. Malcolm X was 39. They did so much in the 39 years they had here on earth. They did. Rest in paradise, Dr. King. Rest in heaven. You were a powerful revolutionary. I'm glad you made the transition from being a dreamer, wanting social integration, pushing that, into being a powerful black revolutionary. Thank you, Dr. King. You woke up. You were not murdered because you had a dream. You were murdered because you woke up. And it was your own people who killed you. Not in the physical realm, but in the spiritual realm and the character assassination. Character assassinated your character. They killed you before you were actually murdered. They did. Roy Wilkins, Jackie Robinson, the head of the National Urban League. I don't know who his name was. Um, these black pastors that didn't want you to speak to their congregation, but 2 years prior, a year prior, they were all on board. They were, yeah, brother, we for you. But they were gutless, and you had the courage. You knew that you had a target on your back, but you spoke out. You spoke out, Dr. King. Yes, you did. You had the gumption. You had the courage that these gutless cowards didn't have. Because at that time, a lot of black pastors, it was taboo to speak out against Vietnam. They were afraid, what J. Edgar Hoover, the Johnson administration may do. Dr. King didn't give a damn. He did not care. I'm gonna stand on truth. He stood on truth, and he knew it was going to cost him his life. He stood on the truth. He even said, I may not get to the mountaintop with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. Those were his words. And he spoke it at Mason Temple the night before he was murdered. Tavis Smiley wrote a book. I can't think of the name of it, but they interviewed him in the final call for that article they did on Dr. King. And Tavis Smiley stated that people go back and say, Dr. King knew the night before he was murdered that he was going to get murdered. But Tavis Smiley stated that Dr. King knew many a nights before that night that he was going to get murdered. A year, 2 years before that, he knew it. But yet and still, he still had the courage to stand on his truth, to stand on the truth, despite his so-called friends turning their backs on him, despite, the country, every major newspaper, calling him, painted him as a demagogue. He was the most hated black man. Think about this. He was the most hated man in America the last year of his life for speaking the truth. It reminds me of someone else currently that's a hated black man for speaking the truth and has been for many decades. I wonder who that could be. Minister Louis Farrakhan, maybe? Is he hated? Yes, he is. He don't care. He don't give a damn. But he's going to stand on his truth. Lord willing, Minister Farrakhan will turn 89 years old in May. Lord willing, he's 88. And he has as much fervor now than he ever has. Even though he's cutting back on his, he doesn't really do interviews now. And he doesn't really speak as much because, like I say, he's up in age. But that man is still a powerful man, a powerful black man. And America don't like that. And even now, if you a famous black person and you support Farrakhan, oh, the powers that be, they distance themselves from you. You have to backtrack everything. They want you to apologize. Tamika Mallory, it happened with her. They made her, now I don't even want to get on her because she's fake the funk. I lost respect for that sister. God bless her. I wish her the best. I pray for her, but she's faked the funk so much until I lost respect for her. Farrakhan will stand on the truth, just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Dr. King. These are men, Marcus Garvey before them. These are men that stand on the truth, that will stand on the truth. We need more black men like a Dr. King, like a Brother Malcolm, like a Honorable Elijah Muhammad, like a Minister Farrakhan. The Nation of Islam do have brothers like this now. And they're coming up. Brother Nuri Muhammad, Riza Islam, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, Brother Demetric Muhammad, Sister Vicky Dillard. She's not in the nation, but she's affiliated with them. Powerful sister. I love her videos. Sister Vicky Dillard. Somebody talk black to me. That's what she says. Dr. Boyce Watkins. Dr. Minister Troy Muhammad out of Detroit, my hometown. You have brothers in the nation that's coming up. Brothers who are not in the nation. Like I said, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Maj Toure, Black Guns Matter. Of course, Dr. Claude Anderson, who's been doing it, he's been telling black people to start well, just like the Nation of Islam. Dr. Claude Anderson's been saying this for over 60 years. The man is 87 years old now, up in age. Powerful black man, Dr. Claude Anderson. So we have black men out there, some that are older, but some that are in their 30s and 40s and maybe 50s that are powerful. Minister Ishmael Muhammad, who I think is going to become the national minister of the Nation of Islam when Minister Farrakhan, transitions on. I think it's going to be Minister Ishmael Muhammad, another powerful black man. So you have them out there. They're out there. It's up to us if we want to take heed to what they're telling us. It's up to us. It is up to us, y'all. If I already haven't mentioned, and I don't think I have, once I get going, I just get going. The spirit just takes over. Hit the like button. Please hit the like, smash that like button down. Drop your comments below and subscribe to the channel. So smash that like button, drop your comments below, and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, y'all, it's up to us to listen. We have powerful sisters out there too. Not just powerful black men, but we have powerful black women out there. We do. Sister Donna Farrakhan comes to mind. I said Sister Vicky Dillard. We have powerful black women out here. If I can't think of any, please forgive me. Charge it to my head, not to my heart. So please forgive me. But yeah, y'all, it's up to us to listen, to take heed to what these people are saying. And it's up to us as parents to teach our children about Dr. King that became the revolution. We should focus more on the Dr. King that became the revolutionary than the Dr. King that was the dreamer. We learned about him in school. The March on Washington, when he was jailed in Birmingham. We learn that. They teach kids that in school now. I mean, that's great and all. Okay, great. Woo-hoo. But I didn't learn about Dr. King meeting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad until I was in my 40s? Maybe late 30s? So I'm just learning about this myself as a few years ago. I knew that he had gone to Chicago and lived in the worst housing project. I knew about that, but I didn't know how impactful it was. I knew that the Civil Rights Bill, the Voting Rights Act, okay, that's all great and all, but what about him being a champion for those who are poverty stricken and poor? What about what he did in Memphis for those sanitation workers? What about him speaking out against the Vietnam War? What about him telling black people to redistribute the pain economically? Support your own. They don't want you to know about that, Dr. King, which, like I said, white supremacy with white supremacy. It's like being mad at a dog for barking when they hear noise. A dog's going to do what a dog's going to do. A dog hear a noise, a dog is going to bark. A shark sees blood, a shark's going to attack. It's what sharks do. White supremacists would be white supremacists. So we can't get mad at that. We can only fight it and change it. It's up to us The onus is on us as parents to teach our kids the truth about Dr. King. We can't depend on these piss poor schools to do it. It's up to us. We are the child's first teacher. Actually, the child's first teacher is the mother, then the father. But the parents are the primary teachers of their children. We can't leave it to these public schools, private schools, colleges, whatever, universities. We can't. Even HBCUs are not doing it what they're supposed to be doing. It's up to us. Oh, Tariq Nasheed, thank you, brother. That's another powerful black man. How could I forget him? Tariq Nasheed. He's from my hometown too. How could I forget him? Brother Tariq Nasheed. He's in LA now. He did the Hidden Colors movies. I think he's done four of them, if I'm not mistaken. But I follow him on Twitter too. Powerful black man, Brother Tariq Nasheed. So yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna hop off here, y'all. Like I said, hit the like button, smash that like button down, smash it down, comment, and please subscribe to the channel. I need the love and support, and it'd be greatly appreciated. So, like I've always said, we don't have to agree, but let's disagree without being disagreeable. Let's have the conversation, a mature adult conversation. Please, let's do that, y'all. So smash that like button down, drop your comments, and subscribe to the channel, please. I'm gonna hop off of here. Take care. God bless, and I love you much. And talk to you next time. All right, I'm out. Take care. Peace.